Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make everyone's favorite summertime treat, the Bomb Pop. This is really great to make for summertime markets or just as a fun little gift for friends or for yourself, and it only takes about 10 minutes to make. It's really fast and easy, and you can get creative by making the cute little face however you want and adding little bows or whatever you want. So for this pattern, you're going to need a couple different colors of yarn. Of course, you'll need your red, white, blue, and a little brown for the stick. And then I'm going to be using a little purple velvet yarn to add a little bow, but that is optional, of course. And you'll also need a little bit of pink or red or black or whatever you want for mouth, and then a little pink for cheeks if you want. You'll also want some 10mm safety eyes, and I like to use a stitch marker, but that is optional. And you'll need scissors, a little yarn needle, and I'm using a size J crochet hook. This is a 6mm crochet hook. So, oh, and one last thing, a little bit of stuffing to stuff your stuffy. So let's clear this all out of the way and we can get started on our little project. So to begin with, you'll just need your hook, and we'll be starting with our brown yarn to start out with our stick. So to start, I'm going to make a little slip knot, and I'm going to chain 2. Here's 1 and 2. Now in the second chain from the hook, I'm going to do 6 single crochets. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now in the very first single crochet I made, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to do a little slip stitch to close up our circle. Close it up and then chain 1. And now for round 2 and round 3, we're going to single crochet in each stitch around. So we'll have just 6 single crochets once again. So here's 1, and here's where I like to use my stitch marker because this yarn is just so fluffy. Sometimes it's hard to tell where the stitch is and where your chain 1 is and all of that. So if you're using regular yarn, like if you're making this with a smaller hook and a smaller size yarn, it's a little easier to see, but fluffy yarn sometimes is a little hard to see things. So there's 1 single crochet. Here's 2. Uh-oh. 2. You also can be crocheting over the tail end of your starting yarn if you like to kind of cover it up and secure it. So there's 1, 2. I'm going to do that a couple times. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now you can see our stitches are kind of turning upwards, and we want to flip them back this way so that we're staying on the other side, on the right side, if that makes sense. And then we're going to slip stitch into that very first stitch that you may have marked or maybe not, that's okay. And that is round 2. Now chain 1, and like I said, round 3 is exactly the same. So we're going to do 6 single crochets once again. There's 1 and 2 and 3, and before I get too far, 1, 2, 3. Let's put that back in there. 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then slip stitch once again. And that completes little round 3. Now we're going to be doing round 4. Round 4 is basically exactly the same, but at the end we're going to be changing colors. So let me show you what I mean. So we're going to chain 1 once again. We're going to do a single crochet in each stitch around. So here's 1, there's 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now here is where round 4 is just a tiny bit different. So we're going to be slip stitching back into our beginning stitch, but instead of continuing with the same color, we're actually going to be doing the next row in a different color. So we're just going to change it right here with the ending slip stitch of this row. So you can actually go ahead and cut your brown yarn and put that to the side because we're all finished with it. Next, we're going with our blue yarn. So with my blue yarn, I'm going to complete my slip stitch. So just yarn over and pull it on through that first stitch and through that loop. Okay, and now we have 2 little ends that I'll be crocheting over top of, and then I've got my new yarn connected. All right, so starting round 5. This one we're going to be crocheting in the front loops only. So if you look at each one of your single crochets, you have 2 little loops on top of it. We're going to only be crocheting in the front loop. So just that one instead of the whole thing. Okay, so I did my little slip stitch and I'm going to chain 1. And now in that first stitch, in the front loop only, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. Here's a 1 and a 2. And I'm going to repeat that in every stitch around in the front loop only. And I'm going to crochet over these ends just a couple of times to cover them up and secure them. So front loop only. Here's a single crochet and single crochet. That makes 4 all together. Next stitch, single crochet, single crochet. That makes 6 so far for this row. Now I'm going to tuck those ends in there because I've gone over them a couple times. I don't need to do that anymore. So that is 6. Here is 7, 8. And the next one, here's 9 and 10. And in the last one, 11 and 12. And now I'm going to slip stitch to that beginning stitch once again and chain 1. And now we are ready for round 6. So for this one, we're going to do a single crochet in our first stitch. And in the next one, 2 single crochets, a 1 and a 2. Oh dear, 2. And for this round, I'm working just how I normally would in both loops, so we're not doing front loop only this time. So 1 single crochet, in the next stitch 2 single crochets, and we're just going to continue that around, and at the end we'll have 18. So here's 1 single crochet and 2 single crochet, and then 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in this one, and then 1 single crochet in the next one, 2 single crochets in the next one, 1 single crochet in the next one, 2 single crochets in the next one. And one last time, 1 single crochet in this one, and then 2 single crochets in this one. And once again, we'll slip stitch to our first stitch and chain 1. Now, for round 7, we're going to be working in the back loops only of this round. So, I'm going to take this little stitch out, stitch marker. So, once again, when you look at your single crochet and you've got 2 little loops on the top of each one, you're going to be going into the back loop only. And that'll help to shape our pop just a little bit because we're going to be moving up the sides now. And we're just doing 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So we should have 18 at the end. So here's 1, here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then we'll slip stitch to our first single crochet and chain 1. Now we are on round 8 and we're just going to single crochet in each stitch around. So we'll have 18 once again, and we're just doing regular single crochets on this round in both loops of the stitch, just how you would normally single crochet. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, and then we'll slip stitch to our first stitch once again. And now we're ready for round 9. And round 9 is going to be almost exactly like round 8, except we're going to do a color change at the end. So I need to do my chain 1, and we're going to do 18 single crochets all the way around once again. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And we'll slip stitch to the first stitch once again. But remember, this time we're doing a color change. So let's grab our next color, which is white. And we're just going to grab it with our hook and pull it on through to complete that little slip stitch. And now we can cut our blue yarn because we are all finished with it. we're ready to move on to round 10 with the white. So we're going to chain 1, and rows 10, 11, and 12 are all exactly the same. We're just going to do 18 single crochets and then slip stitch to our first stitch. We're going to do that 3 times, so that'll be rounds 10, 11, and 12. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, and then slip stitch to your first stitch. And that is round 10. So now you're going to repeat that for rounds 11 and 12. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, and then slip stitch to the top of your first single crochet, and that is row 11. Now one more time, chain 1. Let's do round 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and slip stitch to our first single crochet of the round. Now we are ready for round 13. Now 13 is going to be exactly the same, except that when we do the very last slip stitch, we're going to be changing our colors, of course, to red now. So here's round 13. Let's chain 1. We do 1 single crochet. Here's 2 and 3. Here's 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Here's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And now when we slip stitch into our first single crochet of the round, we get to use red. Yay! Okay, so just grab your red yarn there and pull it on through. And now we can cut our white yarn because we're all finished with that. And, oh, where are my scissors? And we'll crochet over the little white and red ends for just a minute to cover them up. But first we'll chain 1, and now we are ready for round 14. And for this one, we're once again just going to single crochet in each stitch around. So here's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And now we'll slip stitch to the top of our first single crochet. And now for round 15, we'll chain 1. Now for this one, we're going to do a single crochet and then a single crochet 2 together, and we're going to repeat that around for this row, for this round. So first one, we'll single crochet, and now in the next 2, we're going to single crochet 2 together. So we're going to insert our hook, draw up a loop, insert our hook in the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops. So we've just put 2 stitches together to kind of shrink the top of our popsicle. And so we're going to repeat that around. So 1, and then we smush these 2 together by inserting and drawing up a loop, inserting in the next one, drawing up a loop, yarn over, and draw through all 3 loops. So at the end of this round, we should have 12 single crochets all the way around because of these ones that we're combining like this. So we're going to continue that around, single crochet, and then single crochet 2 together. Just like that, single crochet, and then in the next one, single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet in the next one, and then single crochet 2 together one last time. There we go, and then we'll slip stitch to the top of our first stitch. Oop, if I can get in there, there we go. Okay, now for some fun. Now we get to add our face. So pull your loop out just a little bit and kind of flip it over so that that working loop is in the back because we're gonna put the little face on the front here. So let's gather all of our little things for the face. So we need our eyes, of course. And then whatever colors you have chosen for cheeks and mouth, and I'm just going to use a light pink and a dark pink, but you can use whatever you like. All right, ready to continue on? So once we've got our face, we can actually grab a handful of stuffing and stuff a little bit. So I've got like a ginormous bunch of stuffing. I'm just gonna grab half of it to stuff into the body, I think. Let's see. And I only stuff the body. I do not stuff the stick. There's not really a need for that. Like the yarn is fluffy enough that it's already feels like pretty stuffed. Okay, there. I'm gonna grab a little more of that stuffing. About a half of the half that's left. There we go, and stuff it into the top. Okay, and now we are ready for round 16. So I'm gonna grab my hook again, flip this over, and shrink my working loop back down. So for round 16, I need to chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet in each stitch around, so there should be 12 stitches. So here's 1 and 2, and I'm going to use my stitch marker for that. There's 2. Here's 3 and 4 and 5. Here's 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. Oh, I'm catching a little stuffing in there. There's 10 and 11 and 12. All right, and then I'm going to slip stitch back into the top of my very first single crochet. And now we're ready for round 17. So for round 17, we're going to chain 1. Now for this round, we're going to be doing the single crochet 2 together for the whole round. So we'll do it 6 times so that we'll have 6 single crochets or 6 stitches at the end of this. So we'll insert our hook and draw up a loop, insert our hook and draw up a loop. In the next stitch, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops. So there's 1. Now let's do it again. Insert our hook in the next stitch, draw up a loop, insert our hook into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops, there's 2. Insert our hook in the next stitch, draw up a loop, insert our hook in the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops, there's 3. Let's do it again for 4, and again for 5, and one last time. For 6, and then we'll slip stitch into our very first single crochet. Okay, now we are on round 18, and for this one we'll chain 1, and we are just going to single crochet in each stitch around, so we'll have 6 single crochets. Ready? Here is 1 and 2 and 3. Here's 4 and 5 and 6, and we'll slip stitch to the top of our very first single crochet, and now we can pull our loop out, we can cut our yarn. You want to leave a little bit of a tail because we're just going to stitch up this top in a second here, but first I'm going to pull this loop through. Now we can add a little more stuffing to the top of the head because it's a little bit flat, so through that little hole that's left in the top of the head you can grab a little more stuffing and just stuff it in there. There. And if you have any stuffing that got pulled through when you were stitching, you can just pull it and stuff it back in there. All right, and now we're going to grab our yarn needle and we're going to use this little tail to just stitch up our little bomb pop. As soon as you think you've got enough stuffing in there, you put however much you want. I think it's pretty good. So I'm going to grab my yarn needle. And I'm just going to go kind of back and forth a couple times to close that up. So I'm going to go across, stitch that way, and across to stitch this way. And that's pretty good. Only takes a couple little stitches there. And now just take the end of your yarn and run it on down through once or twice. And then you can just cut it off. Okay, now our cute little ball pop is all done. But if you want, you can add a little bow. So let's make a little bow for Bomb Poppy's head. So I got purple yarn. I thought that was cute. It's purple velvet. Ooh, got a fancy pop over here. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to make a little slip knot. And I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now in the second chain from the hook, I'm going to single crochet. Then I'll single crochet in the remaining 3 chains. So that was 1. And here's the remaining 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to chain 1, turn my work and just single crochet across those 4 single crochets. So here's 1, there's 2, and 3, and there's 4. And that is it. Now we can pull up our yarn and cut it because we're just gonna weave in those ends. So just weave this end back through those little single crochets there. And then with the other one, same thing, just take it and weave it through the ends of the single crochets on the other side. Ooh, this velvet yarn falls apart so much. Okay, got little fuzzies everywhere. Okay, now once you have secured those little ends in, you can cut them. Probably make more little fuzzies. There are little velvet fuzzies, fluffies all over my house, you guys. My vacuum is full of them after I vacuum. Okay, now you need a little more of the yarn, and you want to leave, I don't know, I guess I say about 12 inches, but it's probably not that much. You just need a couple inches of it. And now we're going to tie it in the middle of our bow. So line it up so it's kind of going across the middle part of the bow, and you're going to tie it really tight. Now this is a tiny bit tricky because, you guys, if you have used velvet yarn before, you know it breaks pretty easily, so you kind of have to be a little bit careful with how tight you pull it. But if you're using regular blanket yarn, it's a little bit stronger. But there we go. Okay, I think I'm safe. Tie a little knot. You can already see it's taking on a little bow shape. And then I like to wrap it around once and then wrap this one this way. Just wrap it around a couple times and then tie it again. Trying not to break my yarn. Oh my goodness. Okay, there. Oh, yay, it didn't break. All right, boom. Now we've got this little bow that we can stitch right onto her little head. And actually, if you want to make a little bow tie, that's adorable too. But I'm going to put this one up on her head. And then once you're all finished with your little Bomb Poppy, she's gonna look so cute. She can join all of her little friends for some summertime fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.